Hi everyone, welcome back to the Automotive Logistics and Supply Chain Red Sofa, where I'm very pleased to be joined by James Parker Jr., who's the Senior Vice President, Global Parts and Service for Stellantis. I'm going to be talking more about Stellantis's after-sales and service parts network and transformation. And James, I wanted to start right off with that responsibility you've recently taken on. You've now have the global lead across parts and service for Stellantis, as well as North America. Tell us a little bit about the key objectives that come and some of the goals you're building into that wider scope.
For me, it's trying to gain agility, right? Like right now, our supply chain is not very flexible. We have an older supply chain model predicated off dedicated delivery. And what we want to do is to be able to get more scalability. We want to take fixed costs and move those to variable costs, right? So for us, we're requiring our suppliers to be able to come with multiple solutions. We don't want them to come with one solution like they've come with in the past. We want them to come with, canned solutions that can give us flexibility for the independent aftermarket, flexibility for OE, and then flexibility for any form of business that we're going to do moving forward. So we're looking for new models and new ways of doing business. And since I've been here, I've talked to some of these carriers and I've explained to them what they need to do to be able to help us grow in the future.
So that's a matter of really bringing that message out globally, looking across all providers. And are there sort of lessons you're looking to bring either from North America to other regions or from other regions to North America, for example?
I think there's both. I think there's something to be learned from every region and the way they do business. Like, for instance, for us in South America, they have a very robust independent aftermarket business that's probably on par with their OE business. In North America, we're primarily driven by OE, and we need to get more on the aftermarket side. And then in Europe, they're growing the aftermarket business much faster than us. It's much more mature, and so we can learn from that too. So I think, all regions have something to offer if we pay attention and look at the markets and try to, take the best conditions we can.
Absolutely. And you've talked about on stage today, Stellantis is in the midst of a 5-year roadmap transformation within parts and service. Talk us a little bit about that journey, where it began, where you are now, and where you're going.
Well, we're about halfway through the journey. I think our goal was to take our supply chain from a slow battleship to a smaller frigate and make it, more flexible to be able to service when sales go up or down. Right now, because we're primarily half and half fixed and variable costs, when sales go up or down, we really can't take away some of the fixed costs. So we want to get more to the variable side. And part of that means, do we have our PDCs in the right location? Are we consolidated the right way? Are we taking as much cost as we could take out of the supply chain? So we've looked at all the regions. We've decided where we need to have PDCs. We've consolidated those locations. And then for, the Detroit area, we have a mega hub going up over the next 18 months that will consolidate 9 locations and bring us a lot of transportation savings, because now you don't have to do what you did at 9 different places. You can consolidate it into one, and you can save in local logistics costs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure with that consolidation comes other opportunities, maybe with technology integration, automation, which we can talk a bit about. But when you look across this wider transformation, what would you sort of point to as the top priorities, the real top priorities you want to achieve out of it?
I want to continue to gain flexibility with automation, because automation takes away the need for the fixed costs of location, space. We've probably cut out about a third of our warehouse space in North America just by automation, and that's a good thing for us. And that automation gives you the efficiency also. So in one of our locations, 65% of our business actually comes out of the automation that we've deployed, which is a big deal. Because in the past, you had, if you had a 500,000 square foot warehouse, you have your employees traveling over 500,000 square feet. And now we have them in one place, one station, performing the job, which gives us a bunch of efficiency and allows us to reduce our overall footprint and labor costs.
So 65% comes out of that automation, did you say?
Yes. Yes. It really is. It's remarkable.
Absolutely. Now, on the other side, of course, when we look across parts and service, is very complex demand. Variation in that demand, and you have to manage that across a huge number of parts, fast-moving, slow-moving, etc. It does seem like an area that would be ripe for for innovation, AI, for example? Are there ways that you are already focusing on improving that demand planning with AI, and where do you want to go with that?
Well, sure. I mean, to me, that's the biggest thing that we're going to do moving forward in our supply chain is one, connect all the parts of our company. So if you think about it, everything that happens in sales needs to be accounted for in supply chain, because if you don't account for what happens in sales, you're going to find, unlevel transactions happening throughout your supply chain. And what that causes is it causes disruptions. It causes back orders. It causes delays in cars getting repaired. It causes a lack of customer satisfaction. So for me, if we can tie all those things together through AI and have more predictive analysis on what's going to fail on a car and what's the quality impact, and to be more predictive, so when something does happen, we can account for it in our supply chain and add lead time to suppliers to be able to get the material prior to it being needed at a dealership, which if you wait to the end and you're reactive, it adds time to the repair.
Absolutely. And you talked earlier about obviously the mega hub, so this consolidation of the network. The logistics savings also mentioned there. So do you see other technology opportunities and automation opportunities that will come in the mega hub?
I do, and we're testing some now. I can't say who the provider is, but we are testing some different robotics that, it's not the traditional, point-to-point robotics that you normally see. We're testing more sophisticated stuff to be able to bring the goods to the person as opposed to the person going to the goods, because it's always, more efficient if it comes to you as opposed to 20 people traveling the course of the warehouse. So we're employing technology that will give us some major efficiency. And I would say that by the time we get to the mega hub, we will have perfected it in 2 of our other locations.
Well, that is exciting, and that is a step towards maybe not quite the Amazon model, but certainly moving in the direction to be much more predictive, responsive, automated in these processes.
Yes, definitely.
And the other aspect of service parts and service, of course, is that prioritization of the customer and frequency of service and delivery, reliability. There's a point in the aftermarket where the independent aftermarket, which is probably sometimes tough to compete with, where they may be delivering multiple times per day to locations. How at Stellantis, how are you approaching that? Are you looking at opportunities to increase delivery options or pickup options, for example, with your dealers and customers?
We're doing both. I think pickup options are always great when dealers are in the proximity of our locations, because now we don't have to pay the transportation, and then they get the flexibility of being able to come multiple times a day whenever they want. But we're also going back to our carriers and having the conversation about tearing down the traditional model and coming up with a model that's more flexible. They should have models that offer, delivery service for IAM and then for OE. So what we want is kind of a hybrid model that still is able to service the wholesale dealers that have high volume, heavier parts, and then, the independent aftermarket that has medium and small parts, and people want those parts at multiple times during the day. So really what we're asking them to do is to change their business model, be more flexible, offer hybrid solutions as opposed to the traditional solution.
Yeah, and it is a great point. It's something we're talking about with other peers of yours in the industry, how to achieve a more dynamic network, a dynamic routing and engineering, which is not always an easy switch from dedicated dealers delivery, is it? No, it's not. It's very complicated, and I think this is where partnership comes in. Like, I've already talked to a couple of the carriers that we've worked with in the past since I've been here, and I've given them suggestions and ideas on how they can do things differently. And I think the more that we can develop that business partnership and relationship where it's not just a transaction, I think that we can continue to move in the right direction. I think any business partner that you have needs to understand your scope and scale and what you want to do in the future as a company, because then they can tailor a solution to you. Fantastic. And we talked about AI applications for demand planning. You have some exciting innovations in warehouses. Are there other areas, visibility tools that you're looking at across the logistics network to improve the tracking or ETA, for example? Yes,
For us, we've tried to do this for years, and we've done it based off estimated time of arrival to a customer, when in reality, we're trying to do this more real time. We should be able to tell a customer part by part where their parts are. Similar to Amazon or similar to UPS, we should be able to say, hey, the part shipped from, the PDC in Detroit today, it's in Cleveland tomorrow, and then it's going to show up at your location, on Friday. We don't have that capability now. We're working on it. It's going to require some changes in our system and in our process, but I think we'll be able to come up with a solution that puts us on the cutting edge and competitive with some of the other OEs. I don't know if we're going to get to the Amazon or UPS type model right out of the gate, but I think that over time we'll get there.
And are you looking at opportunities with your supply network where you could also optimize delivery, for example, a more direct delivery to a regional parts center or even to dealers? I mean, this obviously is complex in how it can be managed, but do you see opportunities in the network when you're talking about tearing it down and building it back up?
I do. I think there's other parts of the business that we have to support, like, for instance, e-commerce. We're not really into the e-commerce business the way we should be, and I think as we develop that business, our PDCs need to be able to deliver not only to dealers, but maybe dealer, from PDC to customer or PDC to independent aftermarket customer. But we need to be able to have that flexibility to be able to deliver via a tractor trailer, a bob truck, a van, or even by Uber or some other transaction.
Absolutely. And now, look, just one of the last questions here. How do you see changes in the powertrain mix, ICE, hybrid, electric, impacting parts and service over let's say, the medium to long term?
I think it's given us, I was worried about it for a while there because we were transitioning out of ICE and going to EV, and I think that was going to cause some complexity, in how we were going to be able to accommodate all the millions of vehicles out there, from the powertrain standpoint. Now, I think because we're going back into production on the Hemi and the Pentastar, I think it gives us a little bit more runway to plan out, our next 5 years a little bit better. I think, as a company, obviously we're moving more toward ICE right now, and I think we're in a good position to be able to support that.
Yeah. So obviously it would bring complexity, but it's going to be a more phased, yes, and obviously more flexibility and variation.
It'll happen more over time.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Last question, and you've sent a really strong message out to your partners that you want to achieve this change, and you want to see them bring new ideas and be ready for that. So what do you think are some of the most important steps or next steps to take together with your partners to achieve that vision that you have in parts and service?
I think we're doing it now. We're meeting with all our providers, and we're talking to we're talking to our providers that exist today, and we're talking to other providers that don't exist, that don't work with the company right now, because we're trying to gauge, who has the best technology in terms of AI in the industry, who has the best hybrid system, who has the best capability in terms of traceability, which we talked about. So we're talking to all these suppliers now. We're talking to carriers now. We're trying to integrate them in our process. They're collecting information from us all the time so that they can give us a suitable solution in the future.
Great stuff. Thank you so much, James. It's been really a pleasure to hear more about your vision and talk in such detail about these changes. We look forward to keeping up with them along the way and finding out more in the next stages of this. Thanks so much for being with us here.
Thank you.